Good morning, everyone. As always, a delight to see so many of you. We're going to give our attendees maybe a few more minutes. I know a few students are running from the other side of campus, and of course, they cannot miss this presentation. So keep chatting, keep making new friends and new colleagues, and we'll start in a few minutes. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Larissa Jenin. I'm the Dean of the Barton School of Business. And as always, welcome to our home, your home, our award-winning state-of-the-art Woolsey Hall. And what's exciting about today is, of course, we're seeing many of our students, and this is truly to contribute to our student experience and success by bringing top industry executives and business leaders to share their insights, words of wisdom, inspiration, and innovations that will inspire them. We're also delighted to see our faculty and staff. This is doesn't happen every day. This week we're celebrating 20 years of partnership with the Berlin School of Economics and Law, and they're here for the keynote presentation. Can you please stand and be recognized? So all of our Berlin students. Yes. Led by Dr. Sven Ripses. So 20 years is pretty memorable. I also want to say that Ted Fowler is alum of the Barton School of Business. Since last year, he has been serving as a distinguished member of the Dean's Advisory Board. We call them Fabulous 50. And joining him today in the audience is his best friend, life companion of many, many years. Susie Fowler is in the audience, and her mom. A warm round of applause. So, without further ado, and maybe two more things, we will offer a tour of Woolsey Hall, and we'll start that tour outside at about 10:30-ish a.m. So if you're interested in joining, just come up and find me, and we will be having two colleagues leading us on the tour, probably 30 minutes or so. Also, we're launching this fall hospitality major undergraduate, and if you'd like to learn more about that, Dr. Jerry Markova, to my right, will be able to answer any questions, not only for the students who are interested, but maybe for some of our partners in the room and potential companies that would like to partner with us. And also, we're debuting industry-aligned executive MBA program this fall, and we will be able to share more information with you afterwards. So without further ado, you're in for a treat. The title of this keynote is How 187-Year-Old Company Stays Relevant in a Changing World. and you are going to be inspired, informed, and delighted for the next hour or so by Ted Fowler, Senior Vice President of Procter & Gamble. Please join me in welcoming Ted onto the stage.
Thank you. Okay, are we on? Yes. So thank you for that very kind introduction, Dean Jenin, and good morning to all of you. Now, whether you're here on your own accord or whether you've been corralled by our illustrious Dean, it made an offer you couldn't refuse. I appreciate that you all have made time this morning. So just a couple of quick notes before I get into the substance of today's discussion. First, this week has been extremely inspirational for me, and I appreciate having been given the opportunity to reconnect in such a personal way with the university. The ability to participate in the Barton School of Business Executive and Residence Program has only reinforced my passion for education and learning, and has allowed me to experience firsthand the incredible work the school is doing through both real and applied learning to develop the next generation of leaders. More broadly, I continue to be inspired by the progress that Wichita State, its leadership and faculty, the community, and students continue to make in the university's efforts to become one of the nation's premier urban public research centers. Second, I just wanted to note how much this university means personally to me. I practically grew up on this campus. My dad was a jazz professor in the School of Fine Arts, meaning I spent many an evening here as a child, attending concerts, sporting events, and other activities. I started dating my wife, Susie, when we were seniors here at Wichita State. Many of my closest friends, even still today, some of which I know are in the audience today, I met here at Wichita State. And of course, the Barton School of Business gave me the educational foundation and instilled the confidence needed to enable a career that I could never have imagined on that graduation day in 1990. So with that, I'd like to take you on a journey. A journey of how two brothers-in-law nearly 2 centuries ago embarked on a partnership that is now one of the largest companies in the world. I'm going to share with you how Procter & Gamble has strategically transformed itself and developed the integrated strategy it operates with today, proving with our results that the strategy works, even in the most challenging of times, most recently through the global pandemic, through land wars in Europe, through the highest inflationary period in nearly 40 years, and through a continued fierce, competitive, and ever-changing consumer products environment. Let's start with some brief history. P&G was founded in 1837 in Cincinnati, Ohio by William Procter and James Gamble. At the time the company was founded, the United States was barely 60 years old. There was no national market to speak of and no infrastructure to support one. Businesses were mostly small and local, and few survived for long. It was not an easy time to run a company, much less start a new one. And things got harder in 1837 when a banking crisis threw the U.S. economy into a sharp decline. At that time, in Cincinnati, 2 men, William Procter and James Gamble, were just beginning to feel the impacts of the crisis. One was in the soap business, and the other in candles. But they had one thing in common: their father-in-law, Alexander Norris. So to make this easy, they were married to sisters. Okay? In the midst of the banking crisis, Norris suggested to his sons-in-law that they combine their businesses into one company. Together, he thought, they could better weather the financial storm. The men agreed. They called their new soap and candle company Procter & Gamble. And they had a firm belief that everyday products could and should be of the highest quality and value. Although P&G made top quality products, the market was changing. Just a few years after it was established, the business started to feel the impacts of new gas lighting on streets and in homes. With the candle market disrupted by gas, the two businessmen focused their efforts on a new soap formula. It was called Ivory, the first branded product the company ever produced. Ivory was mild enough to use on the body, but strong enough to clean dishes, laundry, and even floors. The biggest difference was that Ivory didn't sink in the water, unlike every other hard bar of soap available at that time. Ivory floated. P&G whipped air into the soap during the manufacturing process, which gave the final product a unique buoyancy. It was a difference that mattered. Soap that you could drop in the water in the middle of a chore without worrying about having to grope blindly to find it again was very, very popular. It was an innovation that changed the course of the company. Floating soap was just one of P&G's many transformational firsts. One of the reasons P&G has been successful for so long has been our willingness to protect what is core about P&G, but to change pretty much anything and everything else that's necessary to compete in our industry and to win. If you look back over our history, there have been multiple occasions when we've disrupted our industry and often our own business model and organization to compete. For example, we sold our products through third-party wholesalers from the time the company was founded up until about the 1920s, almost 80 years. Then, we completely disrupted that standard industry model and began selling to retail customers. Though risky, this was a bold and game-changing move that brought stability to our operations and launched a new era of growth for us. A decade later, we pioneered the concept of brand management, establishing brands as the heart of the enterprise in a way that few, if any, companies had yet done. This set P&G apart and became the operating standard not just of the consumer packaged good industry, but for virtually all industries selling branded products. In the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, we created the modern P&G, beginning with the launch of Tide, the Wash Day Miracle, the first heavy-duty synthetic laundry detergent. We launched Crest, the first fluoride toothpaste to be endorsed by the American Dental Association. We developed and launched Pampers, the first successful mass-marketed disposable diaper. These brands fueled the launch of many brands that today have become icons. Our approach to advertising produced a whole host of firsts as well. The first full-page, full-color ads. And the first radio advertising, tying our beloved household brands into popular serial dramas, first on radio and then on TV, which led to the term, anybody? Soap opera. Who was the first to say that? I got a t-shirt for you. Who wants to take credit? There you go. Here you go. Yes, folks, P&G invented the soap opera.
First time a beta's given something.
There you go. Thank you. Of course it did. Very, very good. Very clever. Okay, in the 1980s, we introduced the concept of category management, which focused us on growing entire product categories, not just on growing share of individual brands. This had a major impact on the way we worked with retail partners and became an important source of competitive advantage. There are other examples of firsts spread throughout P&G's history, but the key point I want to make is that transformation has been a success strategy and a necessary enabler for P&G from the time the company was formed. As I stated earlier, we're willing to change just about anything and everything to compete and win. So with that bit of history behind us, let's fast forward to P&G today. Now, we are a marketing company. This will sound a little bit like the marketing of the company, but that's what I do. Every year, we serve about 5 billion people around the world. We know that putting consumers at the center of everything we do and raising the bar on every part of the consumer experience is key to drive P&G's growth, as it has been for more than 185 years. P&G is one of the biggest consumer packaged good companies in the world. We have over $80 billion in sales, with operations including headquarters, research and development facilities, manufacturing plants, and sales offices in around 70 countries. Our portfolio of products are sold in about 180 countries. For the first 100 years or so, that was pretty much only the United States. But we expanded into Great Britain in 1930 before expanding across the Western Europe continent in 1955. Mexico was our first market in Latin America in 1948. We entered Asia in 1972 with Japan. India followed in 1985, and we entered the China market in 1988. And finally, P&G spends about $2 billion annually on research and development, a critically important investment as we continue to raise the bar in all aspects of our business. Consumers have access to P&G products almost everywhere in the world today. As I shared, we produce some of the biggest and best-known brands in the world, including all of these you see on the slide and many that are not. Cascade, Swiffer, Pantene, Dawn, Olay, Gain, Head & Shoulders, Always, Bounty, Charmin, Oral-B, Downy, Gillette, Vicks, Old Spice, Tide, Pampers, Crest, NyQuil, Tampax, amongst others. Has anybody used one of those products today? Okay, we must be doing our job right. We have 107,000 employees worldwide. We operate 24 manufacturing plants in the United States and 80 manufacturing plants in 34 other countries. We operate in every region of the world. The US is our largest market. China is number 2. And as of last fiscal year, P&G was the 18th largest company in the United States and 24th largest in the world, measured on market capitalization. Our recent results have been very strong. In the 5-year period from fiscal year 19 through fiscal year 2023, our organic sales have grown 6% on average. Quite impressive, given recent macroeconomic challenges, geopolitical developments, and of course, the pandemic. Our core earnings per share has averaged 5%, and excluding foreign exchange, 12% growth. Our adjusted free cash flow productivity has averaged 103%, which represents our ability to convert earnings into cash. Yes, cash growth has exceeded earnings growth. Cash, of course, is necessary to run the business, make the long-term investments needed to win, and deliver our shareholder returns, which leads to our strong track record of returning cash to share owners. Did you know that P&G has paid a dividend for 133 consecutive years and has raised its dividend for 67 consecutive years? Only 7 U.S. publicly traded companies have paid a dividend more consecutive years than P&G, and only 3 U.S. companies have raised their dividend more consecutive years. P&G is a dividend stalwart. Okay, so with the background on our history and recent results out of the way, I now want to turn to how we deliver these results, our integrated growth strategy. For P&G, everything starts with the consumer. While this sounds fairly straightforward, it's incredibly difficult in practice because it requires that we know the people we serve and want to serve almost better than they know themselves, that we understand their lives and how we can help and improve them, that we penetrate their articulated and unarticulated needs, that we're in their homes, listening and understanding, and that we have deep empathy for them. In short, consumers are at the center of everything we do. At P&G, we say, the consumer is boss. We need to win the hearts and minds and purchases of our consumers in the first moment of truth, when the consumer is standing at the shelf choosing which product to buy. We need to win the hearts and minds in the second moment of truth, when the consumer uses our product at home. And we also now must compete and win at the zero moment of truth, when social media, online advertising, and online shopping are involved. In other words, to win when the consumer is first exposed to our brand on any online platform. With the focus on the consumer, our integrated growth strategy consists of 5 pillars. It starts with a focused portfolio of daily use products in categories where performance drives brand choice. The second pillar is an ongoing commitment to and investment in innovation across 5 vectors of irresistible superiority. That is, irresistible superiority in our product, in our packaging, our brand communications, in retail execution, and in value, holistically defined. Superior innovations are driven by deep consumer insights, are communicated to consumers with more effective and efficient marketing programs, are executed in stores and online in conjunction with retailer strategies to grow categories and our brands, and are priced to deliver superior value across each price tier where we compete. Importantly, we leverage superiority to grow markets and our share in them. P&G has learned and continues to believe that it's much easier to grow our business through growing markets than to simply compete for existing market share. The third pillar of our integrated growth strategy is a mandate to improve all areas of our operations in order to fund investments in innovation, brand building, and market growth, to mitigate cost and foreign currency challenges, and to expand margins and generate that all-important cash. The fourth pillar of the integrated growth strategy is our approach to constructive disruption of ourselves and our industry, a willingness to change, adapt, and create new trends, technologies, and capabilities that will shape the future of our industry is critical to success and extending our competitive advantage. And the final pillar is an empowered, agile, diverse, and accountable organization, enabling us to better serve an increasingly diverse set of consumers. To summarize, our integrated growth strategy is designed around winning with consumers through 5 integrated choices: a portfolio of daily use products where performance drives brand choice, a laser focus on continuing to raise the bar on superiority across product, package, brand communication, retail execution, and value, productivity in all we do, a mindset and comfort with constructive disruption, and a highly efficient and effective organization structure. Now, although the concept of an integrated growth strategy may seem obvious, it's important to understand that we did not get here overnight. And that is the subject of the next part of this presentation. Let me take you back a couple of decades. In the early 2000s, our growth strategies were focused on 1, our core business of leading brands in big markets with key customers, and 2, moving into faster growing, higher margin businesses like healthcare and beauty care. In our core categories, we launched new brands like Swiffer and new-to-the-world innovations like Crest White Strips. We made several big acquisitions into faster-growing, higher-margin businesses. For example, we acquired Clairol in 2000, taking us into retail and salon professional hair color and broadening our hair care portfolio. We acquired Wella in 2003, making us number 2 in the world for the salon professional hair care and color category, behind L'Oreal. Finally, we acquired Gillette in 2005, and it came with a few brands beyond its more well-known male and female grooming brands. It came with Oral-B and Duracell batteries. At the time, this was the largest deal ever done in the consumer products industry. Now, in addition to investing in faster-growing, higher-margin categories, we were staffed to run the organization 3 different ways: by categories, by geographic markets, and with a very strong central functions group that were there to, quote, help. Despite the complexity of this organizational structure concept and the resulting overlap and duplication in many parts of the company, we could afford it. Markets were growing, our investing and innovating in higher growth, higher premium categories was working, and consequently, our sales were growing. At the same time, we were launching a purpose-driven growth strategy. The goal of serving more consumers in more parts of the world more completely. More. As you can imagine, the more you do, the more it costs. However, it's easy to lose focus on costs and investments when you are in the process of benefiting from many tailwinds, which included a broad-based economic growth around the world, as well as a reduction in many trade barriers around the world. But then the great financial crisis hit in 2007, 2008, leaving us exposed when the recession hit and consumers were making choices to trade down to lower premium products. So, a couple of slowing economic environment with big investments, a more strategy, in a complex organizational structure, you get very challenging issues as an enterprise, including an unsustainable cost structure, lack of clarity and speed in decision-making, and underinvestment in the brands. In other words, our ability to successfully compete was being strained once the tailwinds we were benefiting from subsided. Organic sales growth had slowed, and our stock price was down, and the pressures began to mount. As a result, in 2012, in order to begin to address these challenges, we announced a 5-year, $10 billion cost savings productivity program. These productivity efforts were in all facets of the company: portfolio, manufacturing and supply chain, marketing and advertising, and support functions. We needed to make productivity as integral a part of P&G's DNA as innovation, a very difficult task. An identified first key area of opportunity from a productivity perspective was the brand portfolio. While it had led to growth for some period of time, it had become way too complex. We needed to simplify it. In 2014, we announced a massive portfolio transformation to become a smaller, more focused company of roughly 65 brands, which would represent a reduction of more than 50%. So I'm going to show some slides here. Green is good. Yellows and red are not so good. Our objective of the portfolio restructuring was to rationalize the portfolio to a collection of daily use categories and brands that were structurally attractive and that, importantly, played to P&G's strengths: innovation, brand building, consumer understanding, go-to-market, and scale. Within these categories, our focus was to build leading brands marketed in the right countries, channels, and customers, where the size of prize and the probability of winning were the highest, with product lines and products that matter to shoppers and customers. We would exit the categories that did not meet these requirements. These core 65 brands that made the cut are consumer preferred and customer supported. These brands were leaders in their industry, category, or segment. 23 with sales of $1 to $10 billion annually, another 14 with sales of $500 million to $1 billion annually, and the remaining with strong brand equities and sales of $100 to $500 million annually. At the time, this 65 brand portfolio already accounted for 90% of the company's sales and 95% of our profit. The portfolio was growing faster than the total company average and earned higher margins. We believe this new streamlined P&G would continue to grow faster and more sustainably and reliably create more value. Most importantly, this new portfolio lineup was a much simpler, faster, most importantly, this new portfolio lineup was a much simpler, much less complex company of leading brands that was easier to manage and operate. Simplicity significantly focuses investment and resource allocation. But we had a lot of work to do. We had to harvest, partner, discontinue, or divest approximately 100 brands. In aggregate, sales of these brands had been declining year over year the prior 3 years. Profits had been declining, and these brands in aggregate were less than half the average company margin. We first exited the Folgers and the Pringles business, getting us completely out of the food and beverage categories. We then exited the Iams and Eukanuba pet care business, and then the Duracell batteries business. Finally, several large beauty categories were divested. With that deal, we exited salon professional, hair color, fine fragrances, and cosmetics. This divested the Clairol and Wella businesses that we had acquired over a decade earlier. But the portfolio work was not just those larger category divestitures. We were also cleaning up the portfolio in the categories we were keeping, exiting unprofitable forms in some markets. For example, in India, we ran a program called Fix It or Flush It. If we didn't see a path to value creation, we would not compete in the form. We exited the dry laundry powder business in Brazil and Argentina, for example. We were moving towards much stronger brands and fewer, more cost-efficient manufacturing platforms. Through the streamlining process, our portfolio of daily use products in categories where performance drives brand choice was coming together. We went from 170 brands in 16 categories to about 65 brands in 10 categories. The first pillar of the integrated strategy was in place. In spring of 2017, we introduced the second key pillar of the strategy, noticeable or irresistible superiority. Superiority encompassing product performance, packaging, brand communication, in-store or online execution, and value for both the consumer and the retailer. Importantly, if we were going to be in categories where performance drives brand choice, we needed to perform. And at the time, we weren't. Only 30% of our sales were judged to be superior across these elements of superiority. As a result, we were not growing markets, we were losing market share, we were losing household penetration, and we were losing profitability. Based on history, green is good, we knew that when 4 or 5 of the vectors of superiority are green or superior, we grow sales, profit, share, household penetration, and most importantly, the market. When 3 or less are superior, the opposite is true, and we have more work to do. We had to invest in and restore superiority, and this became a focus. With a streamlined portfolio in place and a reinvigorated focus on superiority, our productivity efforts, the third pillar of the integrated growth strategy, We're helping to give the financial wherewithal to invest in these pieces of the integrated strategy. As of 2018, highlights of our productivity work included a reduction in the number of manufacturing platforms by 50%, a reduction in headcount enrollment by nearly 30%, including divestitures, a reduction in the number of advertising, public relations, and other agencies supporting the business by 60%, a reduction in the number of office buildings and research and development centers by 65% and 30%, respectively, and a significant simplification of our legal entity structure, including a reduction in the number of legal entities by 60%. Critically, we have now embraced productivity as a key strategy to strengthen the long-term health and competitiveness of our brands, managed through short-term significant cost increases, and how we deliver our objective of balanced top and bottom line growth, including margin expansion. I will come back to the importance of balance in a minute. Today, productivity is built into our operating model. In other words, it's part of our DNA, and it's an ongoing part of our strategy in every area of the business. Finally, we got focused on the last two pillars of our integrated growth strategy. First, constructive disruption. To be clear, success in our highly competitive industry and increasingly dynamic world requires agility that comes with a mindset of constructive disruption, a willingness to change, adapt, and create new trends and technologies that will shape our industry for the future. This is true today. This was true when P&G was in its infancy, and will continue to be true in the decades to come. An example of this work we have done to transform our supply chain, moving our manufacturing and distribution centers closer to population centers, and moving to multi-category versus single-category plants to optimize supply and demand dynamics and product mix going to retailers. Other examples include our go-to-market strategies, including e-commerce and direct-to-consumer models, and advertising, including new ways of interacting with consumers and a rebalancing of investments between traditional media outlets and social media. To remain relevant, a culture of comfort with change and a growth mindset is critical to compete in this ever-changing competitive landscape. Finally, the last important element of our strategy, moving to an organization structure designed to focus our human, technical, and financial resources on our biggest opportunities for growth, needed to be tackled. In doing so, we needed to create a more empowered, agile, and accountable organization and a culture with much less overlap and redundancy, with the ability to flow to new demands, seamlessly supporting each other to deliver against priorities around the world. We first needed to dismantle what we commonly refer to as the thicket, a structure consisting of 16 global business units who were basically responsible for all aspects of the brand: upstream innovation, the brand equities, manufacturing and supply chain. We had 6 market development organizations with basically the sales force that had staffing and responsibilities that often overlapped the global business units. And we had a heavily staffed function organization charged with helping the categories and markets. Again, often resulting in duplication. So, I don't know how many of you have worked in a thicket before, but it's suffocating. It's not a lot of fun. There's a lot of hiding places in there, okay? Very low accountability, it's not inspirational, and it's not a fun place to work. In order to address these challenges, we created a new structure designed to de-matrix the company and provide greater clarity on responsibilities and reporting lines to strengthen leadership accountability and enable P&G people to accelerate growth and value creation. We now have 5 sector business units which manage our 10 product categories. Each sector has a CEO who has full brand building and profit and loss responsibilities for our largest markets, which we call focus markets. These markets include the United States, Canada, Western European countries, China, South Korea, and Japan. Focus markets today account for about 80% of the company's sales and 90% of the profit. We then consolidated profit responsibility for the remaining markets, which we call enterprise markets, into a separate unit with its own sales, profit, and value creation responsibility. The sectors provide innovation plans and operating frameworks to drive growth and value creation in the enterprise markets, but then these markets have executional freedom within that defined framework. An example of the power of this enterprise market structure is Turkey. Turkey has had a significant amount of macroeconomic challenges over the last few years. And in the old design, we would have had each category trying to develop its own plan with the leadership in Turkey to try to navigate and manage these challenges. That creates an extreme amount of complexity, and it creates often disagreements around where we should be investing our time and which brands we should be investing in. In our new design, the enterprise market leader works with Turkey leadership to come up with a plan across all 10 categories. This is faster, less complex, and results in a more coordinated and comprehensive plan. The new design eliminated the three-way matrix or the thicket and moves to one axis, the sector business units. This created very clear ownership lines. The categories, who own end-to-end management responsibility for the entire category, I think of that very simply as they own from research and development to the shelf in the focus markets. And the enterprise markets, who operate freedom within a framework provided by the sectors and have full profit and loss responsibility. This structure and its resulting organizational speed and focus has allowed us to manage through the challenges and headwinds we are currently experiencing. A difficult macroeconomic environment, complicated geopolitical dynamics, and an ever-increasing competitive environment. We continue to believe that this structure is the best way to navigate successfully through the increasingly dynamic world in which we live. So what has been the result of our very difficult transformation to an integrated growth strategy? Let's review. Over the last 5 years, P&G people have added over $15 billion in incremental sales globally, putting us at the 85th percentile of the S&P 500. P&G people have added over $5 billion of after-tax incremental profit, ranking us in the 92nd percentile of the S&P 500. They have grown core earnings per share by 40% and returned over $80 billion of cash to share owners. I think that's pretty impressive, but I know that I am biased. Now, while P&G's integrated strategy is working, it's not static. It's inherently dynamic. It evolves every morning. Our job every day is to get up, put both feet on the floor, and understand what's going on around us. It demands that we are not sitting still. It requires that we continue to improve our advantage and superiority as our competitors do. It requires that we adapt to the new changes of the marketplace in terms of rapidly evolving channels and an even more diverse consumer base. To demonstrate our continued ability to adapt and change, we have recently added 4 areas of focus to strengthen the execution of our strategy. The first is in the supply chain area, where we are working to create an even more agile and efficient and cost-effective supply chain amplified by data and analytics. Environmental sustainability, increasingly important to our consumers and to the society that we live in. Integrated into each of our businesses and processes with a mindset of no trade-offs, continuing to deliver and improve irresistible performance of our products and packages while improving their sustainability. I would encourage all of you to Google Tide EVO. It's our latest innovation in the laundry care area. It's getting launched this month in Colorado. It's a detergent entirely made of what I'll refer to as clean. No plastic bottles, no fillers and no extra water, manufactured in a facility powered by solely renewable energy, and features 100% recyclable packaging, as an example. Digital acumen. This is important across all aspects of our business so that we can more freely focus on the highest order work, serving consumers, customers, employees, society, and share owners. And importantly, a renewed focus on a superior employee value proposition, ensuring we continue to attract, retain, and develop the best talent. As I wrap up this part of the discussion, I want to touch on one more concept: the importance of balance. Our goal is balanced top and bottom line growth. As our CEO often states, it's a physical law of the economic universe. You can't compete long term with a singular focus on sales growth or a singular focus on reducing costs. It must be balanced. As we are constantly reminded, top line without bottom line is a waste of time. Bottom line without top line is a matter of time. But in the ever more complex world we live in, it's not just top and bottom line that must be balanced. We must also endeavor to balance the needs of an increasing number of constituents, or we're unlikely to deliver against the needs of any of them. Consumer, customer, employee, society, and share owner needs must each be met. There's no choice to make here. There is no opt-out. Servicing and balancing the needs of each of these constituents will not be easy, but it's necessary. And those that do it best, as I expect our integrated growth strategy will allow us to do, should thrive. Before I close, I would like to share one of my favorite examples of how P&G innovation can help affect positive change around the world. This water purification packet that you see on the screen uses a formula developed by one of P&G's scientists to enable anyone, anywhere, to clean up to 10 liters of dirty, non-potable water with just a bucket, a cloth, and a spoon. Think about that. Access to clean drinking water is a problem for more than 1 billion people worldwide. Many of these people are women and young children in the developing world who must walk 6 kilometers each day to collect often contaminated water for their families. Diarrhea caused by drinking contaminated water is still a leading cause of illness and death amongst infants and children in the developing world. Let's watch this video.
This is considered drinking water. So P&G, the makers of Tide, Dawn, and Crest, invented a powder that transforms dirty water from this to this. After more than 180 years of creating cleaning products for families around the world, P&G understands the power of clean water. Together with our partners, the P&G Children's Safe Drinking Water Program has provided 15 billion litres of clean water in nearly 100 countries. Clean water not only helps save lives, it transforms lives. Now Boniface will grow strong. He'll spend more days in school, he'll enjoy more birthdays and a brighter future. If you've purchased a P&G brand over the past 15 years, then you've been a part of this life-changing program. Help us continue to share the power of clean water. P&G.
Thank you. Yes, this little blue packet, what we call the P&G Purifier of Water, removes pathogenic microorganisms, suspended matter, and more than 99.9% 99999% of common waterborne bacteria, making previously contaminated water clean. We developed this in collaboration with the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and we distribute it through partnerships with many organizations around the world. Together, we have delivered 21 billion liters of clean drinking water and have saved thousands of lives. At the end of the day, we serve people with a strong desire to improve their lives and the lives of their families. We stand by consumers and support them in small but meaningful ways every day. With superior performing products of high quality at a superior value, we strive to do that in the most responsible way, as we have for over 185 years. So, in closing, I hope you can appreciate how we continue to demonstrate our willingness to transform and change anything and everything except our purposes, values, and principles, and our commitment to win, to create value for our consumers, customers, each other, society, and share owners. As we prepare to celebrate our 187th anniversary this year, I believe we are as well positioned as we have ever been, and I pinch myself every day for having been given the opportunity to work for this great company. With that, I'd like to thank you for coming and joining me today.
Please join me in thanking Ted Fowler for delivering an inspirational and very personal story, and also featuring how Procter Gamble has been transforming through times and looking at the history and the present and the future. And more importantly, I just want to say thank you to Ted for your engagement with the business school. As you know, he's executive in residence for the Barton School, and the keynote is one of the components of that engagement. He also met with our leadership team to talk about different topics that would inspire our programs and curriculum to keep innovating. He has been meeting with students one-on-one and our faculty members, and he has been guest lecturing in various different classes, really sharing his knowledge, his wisdom, and inspiration. With that, as you know, Barton School is on its journey to become one of the top business schools in the nation, and it is powered by our 5-year, very ambitious strategic plan called Bloom. And we just want to thank Tad for contributing to our blooming journey and present this to him. Tad will be available in the atrium for photos, for conversations, for questions. And before we close out, I want to say thank you to Jan Lopez, my executive assistant and co-producer of these signature events. She's sitting right there in the back. You can clearly see her right now. And to James, our manager of marketing, and he does it all to create these lifetime memories of these wonderful events. To many of our staff members and our students who contributed to making this event a successful one. With that, have a wonderful day. Go Shockers, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.